All right. Before we start, I do want to acknowledge the fact that this was voted on at Twitter at Shinomates, uh, and it was a three-way tie because only three people voted. It was uh, I forget what it was, but basically there was a little funny glitch that happened that I'm just gonna allow to work. It made it to where it was 33, 33, 34%. So 34, I'm just going to say that one, and I drew a skull for this drawing. Now, also, I don't draw like other people. I don't do a lot of things that pros do, like flip the canvas or even rotate the canvas. I like to keep it on the axis, but I'll zoom in and everything. I don't name my layers. And I put everything pretty much on the same layer except for the shading. I'm kind of crazy. So, without further ado, let's get started into this skull drawing that I made. And I hope you guys do enjoy. I will talk about it while we're doing it. So, alright, so first, the idea in my head was to make it a golden skull on a background of black. And in the final one, I kinda made it too, what's the word? Too far to the right of the screen, but it still came out really well. My and then here's where I actually find the design that I really wanted. Uh, and this is kind of how I like to draw. Is I like to start off with a black background and draw off of that. That way I don't have to draw any of the black lines, and all the lines are completely natural. Now I don't zoom in for a while because I don't really think I needed to. But it is a fun way to draw. It's just a lot less stressful than regular drawing. Here you'll see me struggle with this shape a lot. Uh, I will delete it a bunch. But as you can see, I pretty much got the bottom jaw completely done. Uh, but you will see that I will change it later on with shading and stuff, and everything's gonna change pretty much. Uh, except for most of the skull. So instead of continuing with that bit that connects the jaw and the top of the skull, I instead drew out the uh, teeth for the top part of the jaw or the mouth, and I made it started off with the teeth instead. And honestly, it took me forever to do that third tooth, but on I got through it and it turned out really well. Uh, also, and here I wanted it to represent like how my teeth kind of work, because I wanted it to be my profile picture, and I have this weird thing with my teeth that makes them look kind of like vampire teeth. But yeah. Then these teeth that are showing underneath are actually the uh, teeth that are furthest away from the camera. When I do the shading, everything will come together. Everything looks better with shading. It is one of my biggest like it's what I say a lot. So I really could not figure out what I wanted to do with this. So I think I stopped uh doing it for now, and then I just continued on to the next part. This is an 8 times speed, so I really am a slow artist when it comes to like just anything art related. Uh, and yeah, so it is. It's only a 12-minute episode, so my first episode, I think it's turned out really great. Um, so yeah, I think I took a little bit of a break here, although I hadn't done much, but I do come back and I start drawing all of the different shapes. So this is how I like to draw, is I like to plot out all the shapes and then shade. And as you can see, I realized that I needed to make it much bigger than it actually was. So instead, I cropped it out and made it bigger. And also, I'm using Clip Studio to make this. It's just a really, really fun art program that's not as expensive as uh, Photoshop. You still do have to pay for it, but it's seriously not as expensive. I recommend it. I really do. And so right now I think I'm just making this shaping out the side of the eye. So right here, as you can see where my thing is circling, that is the eye. This is the nose. Everything will come together once the uh like shading comes in, because the shading is so good. I just This piece just came out far better than I ever expected it to. So if you see me like fill it in and then start circling the edges with my cursor, it's because the fill tool doesn't fill the entire canvas, or like it doesn't fill the entire shape you do. The edges are actually not completely filled in, so you got to go over it again. Some people will actually just leave it there, and that's kind of a lazy move. And though the shapes I'm making in the eye are actually just like they're just shapes in the eye. Uh, Different parts are sometimes different like shades that are really different. And then there you see the cranium, the big old forehead of the skull. And I think I struggled with this part of it because I didn't know if I wanted to put in the extra lines yet, but I do that at the end instead of now. That's why you see that. Yep, I just called it right there. And so filling in these edges, and as you can see when you look out, you can kind of get the shape out. And here I'm actually getting the shading to start. So I at first I couldn't figure out if I wanted it to be a gray shade or a black shade, but I ended up going with black shades. And I kind of wanted to make a little bit more of a cool little like shining effect going through the teeth. As you can see here, I'm like messing with it a bunch, and I just said no. And the more I messed with the dark ones, the dark one, the less I liked how like dark it was. So I had to change it a bit. I think I changed it to be like a 90 opacity, or maybe I stopped here. I don't remember. We will see together. Yeah, I changed it to 90. And to be honest, I think it's a bit too dark. I do feel that way. And then here I changed the next shade is actually 70 instead. I wanted to there was a shading on the top of the skull that was a bit bright but not too bright, so instead I just declared that it would be bright. And then there was this weird shape in the middle that uh wasn't turning out the way I wanted it to. Uh So I put a bit of shading right there in the middle because I felt it was plain, and so I needed something there, but I didn't know what. So I put a bit of dark shading there. Then here I put this here, and then I think I put start putting in some extra like details into the skull very soon to separate the shading a bit. Yeah, there you go. So there's some extra lines into the thing that weren't there before. Let's see. I think the hardest thing uh do do about this was the overall like finding out where the shading needs to go, because a lot of the places did not need some shading because the light was just shining straight on it. Uh, I think this is where I brought in the even brighter final shading uh, brightness. And I also overlapped a bit to show that the shades were actually changing. If you see like this darker bit, you could see like the shadings overlapping. I don't really know what to say about this, to say with this stuff. But once I started adding these more like odd shapes, rounded shapes, it started coming out a lot better than I thought. I thought I needed sharper shapes, but it definitely I did not. And you could see me like neglect the bottom jaw. I kind of forgot about it for this piece, and then I'll go back to it at the end. So I think this is where I figure out, oh man, I forgot the bottom jaw. And so you can see me here trying to mess with the trying to show the top of the teeth as well, because I felt like it would be better, and I left it. I left it like that. I felt like that was nice and good. I don't know really how to explain it. So then there got that little indent between the lip and the chin that I wanted to dark. And then here you can see me using a pretty dark shade, but I end up changing it completely. All this shading that you see is gonna disappear because I realized it doesn't need to be this dark. It wasn't looking good either. I wanted to make I don't really remember why I did that. It just didn't it looked like a beard to me. It just did not look great. I think this is where I change it. Yeah. It just looked too much like a beard, and I did not want it to be a beard. And I think I'll go back and add some regular, like, simple marks everywhere. But this is pretty much it. Yeah, so, uh, I really love how it came out. Oh, and it like looks really cool. Let me just pause this so that I can go over it and show you the actual piece, so you don't see this like blue line over it. All right, well, here is the final design. As you can see, very cool. Shading turned out fantastic. And yeah, I don't know if I'll do a bunch of things like this where I'll do really detailed stuff, because I'm not big on the super detailed stuff like this. But I think it turned out phenomenal. Uh, in about a week, I will post another one. Not like this, but like it's going to be a Pokemon. So stay tuned for that, and I guess I'll see you guys whenever that post. Well, bye bye, I guess.